Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Eden Zero, chapter 203. When we last left our heroes, lots of things going on. The fight against Crow's physical form, his outward exterior body, was going terribly, as Crow went into overdrive and sped up a great deal and was just smacking the Eden Zero around. Meanwhile, back in the fight with Ziggy, Shiki got in a couple good blows, and what he did ended up shattering Ziggy's mask, revealing an interesting silhouette that shocked Shiki out of his own overdrive. And then, meanwhile, inside Crow, where Holy was sort of sucked away into, she finds a manifestation of Crow's personality, a la the Acnologia thing at the end of Fairy Tail. And she just started trying to fight him and largely failing because there was some sort of ether jammer stopping her from using her ether gear, as Crow came to remember who she was and the kind of torment he inflicted on her on Atmos Day. And right as all hope seemed lost there, somehow Laguna and Jinn came in to help fight this, mini Crow. So, I'm not quite sure how they got there or how they were able to, use their ether gear, but, I reckon we're about to find out as we dive right on into chapter 203, Ziggy. So maybe not. Maybe we're going to be focused on Ziggy. But for our picture here, we have Rebecca with her, back arched at a really unnatural angle, leaning off a balcony. It's whatever. But no, I was wrong. We pick up where we left off with Jinn and Laguna arriving inside of Crow, having just chopped off Mental Crow's arm. Which, again, what does that even really do, given that, he's a manifestation of Crow's mind? But Holy looks at them shocked. You? But how? And Crow looks at them, wind ether gear. How can you use your ether gear in here? And Laguna's answer is with an ether jammer canceller. Which sounds like at a certain point, that could easily devolve into, kids on the playground with increasingly ridiculous superpowers in their game. I have the Ether Jammer Canceller, the Ether Jammer Canceller Jammer, the Ether Jammer Canceller Jammer Canceller. That could, at that point, it could really easily get more absurd. But Jinn clarifies, well, technically, we're just absorbing the jammer's electronic signal. And back outside, we see it's actually Kleene who's doing it with her own ether gear. Never mind, they're just being silly. My wind snatch. It takes everything. Your ether jammer. I can cancel its effects. Are the shields of the Eden Zero tied to the ether tied to ether? So, with that, the shields were down? Because Connor responds, shields restored. I be taking us up. And the gang goes back to running away from Crow, as Herman questions, and Jinn and Laguna? And Kleene tells her, inside. The infiltration was a success. It's not quite clear how they got in there, what, opening let them get in, beyond getting eaten by Crow or something, through the mouth. I don't know. But back inside, Crow questions, you're absorbing my electronic signal? What monsters are on your crew? Is that ridiculous an ability? That just seems like a really, simple ability to cancel out other abilities. But Jinn takes offense. No one talks about my sweet, adorable sister like that. Laguna comments, it's true. Kleene is very cute. And Jinn, being the protective brother, turns to Laguna. Laguna, you have no right to look at Kleene like that. Holy then sort of flashes back to her own sister. And as a little kid, sissy, this little baby Holy, I think. And that causes this panic to rise up in her, or rage or something. And then she lifts her hand. Does this mean I can use my ether gear now? And she does, melting the mind Crow. Melt! And he turns into goop. and just falls over. It is very reminiscent, now that we sort of see it in its totality, to Laguna, to like an even more powerful version of Laguna's ability without relying on the crying. As Laguna and Jean comment on, as Laguna says, that's a pretty diabolical power. And Jean just mocks him, look who's talking. And Holy, now that like Mind Crow is gone, turns on Jean and Laguna. This isn't his main body. And Jean sort of comments, that figures. And Holy accuses them, why didn't you fire the cannon? And Laguna just tells her, we don't pull the trigger on our crewmates, no matter what's going on. And Holy counters back, I'm not on your crew. Agreed. I never thought of you as one of us either. And neither is Jean. And Jean chimes in, but Shiki considers you a friend. And we respect Shiki's wishes. That's all. Just, in One Piece fandom, there's a lot of effort spent on sort of the commands Luffy has as captain, that the crew is sort of not forced to follow him, but by accepting Luffy as their captain, they acknowledge that what Luffy says goes. And that's sort of, like, that's the same thing that Jean is getting at here. Like, we respect the captain. He is our captain. Captain, of course, is not the word they really use for him, because here, captain means more like pilot in terms of Connor, but still, the leader. And they, as his crew, follow him. And Holy sort of looks at them, her own planned betrayal in the back of her mind. And Laguna comments, the Eden Zero is focusing on defense now. And since we are inside the guy, and Jean chimes in, let's find his power source and see if we can slow him down. And Holy, not quite clear if she's like fully wavering on her desires to betray Shiki, but accepts that, commenting, alright. And then we're back with, in the Mother Chamber, as, they're getting ready for their plan to rescue a handful of the mothers before the chronophage comes, as Weisz picks up one of the tubes, brings it down, that appears to be his own mother. Though there's some of the people here are clearly not theirs. Like there's one with short hair that wouldn't be Kurenai, Nox, or Weiss's mom. I don't know why I blanked on Weiss's name all of a sudden. It might be Rutherford or Husert, actually. I'm not sure. But Weisz de-arsenals and looks at them. Okay, that should be all of them. Unhappy questions in the night gear, and Pino tells them, it's under remote control. It will arrive shortly. And Weisz is just looks glum and sort of unsatisfied with everything that's happening here. And Rebecca questions, Weisz, are you sure you're okay? And Weisz sort of plays it off as a joke. I doubt he really I doubt he really sees it as a joke, but just comments, it's kind of awkward to see my mom naked. And Rebecca doesn't really buy it, and so Weisz goes on, she died a long time ago. I thought she'd been buried on Norma back then. But here she is, still in one perfect piece. And then we cut to Homura, who is staring at her mother's corpse, and flashing back to her last encounter with Kurenai in the slum district on Sun Jewel. I humbly request, with all my heart, that you stay out of my life. She just reflects, Mother, we each walked a separate path, but the fact remains that you endured painful labor to give me life. I hope that you may rest in peace. Okay, Homer is a better person than I would be in that situation. But then she sort of while trembling, comments, for there is too much death around me. That's fair. She's gone through enough suffering to have even more death. To be caught up in the path of even more death. And I'm sure before all is said and done, there will be far more death for her to contend with. But anyway, we cut back to Rebecca, who is looking down the hall, down all, just the sheer number of people here, and thinking, so many mothers, here in one place. And Ziggy wanted to use them all. I don't know how he brought them here, but every single person here had a child. He ripped away a piece of their family. I can't put things back the way they were, but I can stop Ziggy from taking advantage of you. Shiki, you have to beat Ziggy. So, like, she's sort of finding, in this scene here, she's sort of finding the, like, morally upright justification for Planet Eater here. That, like, while she was initially hesitant to use it on, now that she knew what was, like, in the core of Lendard, now, you know, she's thought it through, and she's like, actually, I can't save them, but if I can stop Ziggy from abusing their deaths, that's something at the very least. Is at least how I'm reading that little scene there. But anyway, we cut back to Shiki, who is still, like, mid-overdrive dissolution. The ether line is just cut. As, you know, it's like the same collection of panels from last chapter. The shattered mask, the somewhat familiar face that might tie into the long-standing future Shiki theory. And, you know, we hear Shiki's heartbeat there. And yeah, that's confirmation. An older, like, down to the same, you know, scar on his cheek. That is Shiki. And, like, the left eye that seems less human than the other, it's a future. It's not the same time in the future as, like, Rebecca's little flash forward in the Aoi War. It's much older. He looks like in his 40s or something. But yeah, future Shiki is confirmed. And Shiki, I'm gonna keep calling them Shiki and Ziggy because, like, it gets confusing real fast if they're both Shiki. Because Shiki just questions, you look like me? And that O-Tech eye turns black as Shiki reacts, what's going on? And Ziggy tells him, everything is connected. Okay. So that's not an explanation. Unless he's saying that Shiki and Ziggy are every single person in the cosmos is? I don't know. But then we cut 20,000 years later on the planet Eden, where robots run the world. You know, this is robot land. We have recovered 2 human bodies discovered in the Aoi cosmos. Okay, so that's not the effects of the Kaide War. Unless maybe this is like Universe 2, where the gang blows up, failing to escape from Nero 66, and they just die there. Maybe? I don't know. We recovered 2 human bodies discovered in the Aoi cosmos. Human? Seriously? We have confirmed the woman is dead. We will remove all radioactive material and begin the autopsy. The man is alive. A living human? Only authorized personnel beyond this point. Those are some serious injuries. Are you sure he's alive? And yeah, that is clearly Shiki in there. I think this is the Shiki that ends up becoming Ziggy. That this is already a different universe. A different, like, because if you think back to the end of the Aoi War, Ziggy was shocked that history had changed in some way by Witch's sacrifice. Because he, thinking he knew how history would play out, was like, oh, this is where Shiki dies, is recovered in 20,000 years and becomes me. But no. In reality, you know, Witch made her sacrifice, we moved into Universe 3 at some point, because again, that wasn't quite Rebecca who did that. And Shiki lived. Shiki and the gang all lived. So, that's my theory. That Ziggy is Shiki 2. But there are two like robot researchers examining Shiki here, or Ziggy. I'm gonna call him Ziggy because I think I'm right here. These are some serious injuries. Are you sure he's alive? And the shorter of the two bots comments, we are still getting life readings. and we see he's like breathing and saying something. Like his mouth is moving. The scientists all comment, he's trying to say something. Raise the ether saturation to 70%. Give him some protein. I know words. And the bot turns to him, Do you understand our language? What is your name? And I think I know what's going on here. Where the name Ziggy comes from. Because Ziggy and Shiki are very similar names, especially considering that they they're grandfather, grandchild / same person. Hold on, let me see what the actual romanization of Ziggy is. No, that might have been ending in a key syllable. But no, it ends in a gi, so never mind. What is your name? Key. All the scientists can hear is the syllable key. And the scientist questions, I didn't hear that. Can you say it again? Gi. Which is, I believe, the romanization of Ziggy, right? I just deleted that tab. I was just looking at it. Jiggy is Ziggy, is the romanization of Ziggy, which is so similar to Shiki. He's trying to get his name out, and finally can only say Ziggy. And Ziggy, in the present, says to Shiki, I am from 20,000 years in the future. I'm you, Shiki. And that's where we leave off. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the non-Ziggy things first. Let's talk about the holy stuff and the mom room stuff. I'm not sure, the holy stuff, if this is sort of the end of Crow as, a character, and is instead, from this point on, just an enemy to be defeated, I'll be disappointed. If Crow is, if this is like Acno, and maybe Crow can spawn another one, spawn another, mind thing for the gang to fight. Because right now, Crow is not, outside Crow is not doing much from a character standpoint. He's just big and intimidating and whooping ass, and that's sort of his whole thing right now. And so, you need this sort of, person Crow inside of big monster Crow to, make, have there be, words are failing me right now. I've had a very, very long day at work. But to be the sort of character, while the gang fights the big giant, there is someone who is talking, who is having connections with the characters, antagonistic ones to be sure, but connections nonetheless. So I'm hoping this is not the end we see of these sort of mind crows. I'm looking at the and we respect Shiki's wishes thing again that Jean says. And pairing that with the Ziggy reveal. Because if they respect Shiki's wishes, that means they must also respect Ziggy's wishes. At least if and when they find out that Ziggy is future alternate universe Shiki. I'm curious how they'll actually, deal with that, maybe it won't cause any kind of crisis of conscience at all. Those are our Shiki. But, it's an interesting line to bring up and pair and give this much attention. In the chapter you reveal that Ziggy is also Shiki. Right? That's a thing to bring up right then and there. It seemed like a hell of a coincidence. So, something to keep in mind going forward. And then we have the scene in the Mother Hall, which has a lot of, really sweet little character beats for the trio here. Weisz doesn't get as much as the other two, as Homura, reflecting on her mother's death, and Rebecca's sort of commitment to, letting the mothers not be used in Ziggy's schemes are very nice for the two of them. Weisz is a little less, but also, like, as he said a while back, like, he knew his mom was dead. This is not news to him in the same way it sort of is for Homura that her mom is dead, and Rebecca that her mom is not dead, actually. So, like, it makes more sense that it's affecting Homura and Rebecca a little more. Especially given Rebecca's whole plan here. And then we get the reveal about Ziggy and Shiki and the, like, where does Ziggy come from? He does, like, the fact that he's in the Aoi cosmos and Ziggy's shock at Shiki's survival from the Aoi War, it sure seems like, you know, he's the one who died during the Aoi War. That's what happened there. And, like, maybe that's not it, but I'm pretty damn confident that that's what happened there. Because all the things that Ziggy did at the very tail end of the Aoi War, after Nero died, after Shora was defeated, all feel like he was, you know, with this reveal, it feels like he was setting up his own birth. Just to, like, you know, have that be undone by Shiki just not dying. Especially because Ziggy on Eden looks like the younger Shiki. Looks like Shiki pre-time skip. So the fact he even still has the bandage covering the scar that present-day Shiki doesn't have. So this is definitely one that died pre-time skip, and it definitely feels like that would have been Shiki. But yeah, just the reveal, you know, the Shiki is Ziggy, or Ziggy is Shiki thing. Like, that's a huge thing. That is a huge beat. And I don't know. I'm also now thinking of that. I'm thinking of the Zhao Mei scene. The time has no meaning in this story. From way back when the 20,000 years plot first started in, like, chapter 5 and then was dropped until 200. Because it turns out time kind of does have a meaning here. That was not a random cutaway to 20,000 years from now. We pretty much know what that was. And it is full of meaning. That is where the meaning of Ziggy comes from. I don't know. I'm very curious as to what Mashima is planning for the coming weeks. I think the coming weeks will be very important to seeing how this twist lands. Like, right now I'm into it, but I definitely want to know, like, what happened to 20,000 years from now Shiki that turned him into Ziggy, that made Ziggy the kind of being he wanted to be, right? Because that Shiki, the one on Eden, never would have known he was Ziggy. Because Shiki's only finding this out now, and when Ziggy got blasted 20,000 years into the future, he hadn't known that. This is still post-Aoi War. So I'm very curious about the Ziggy backstory that it seems like we're maybe going into next week, because that's going to be good. You know, Mashima backstories are always great, and I'm fully expecting this one to be no exception, because I just can't fucking wait. You know, Ziggy, Shiki are the same person, and I don't know, like, I want to know what happened to my boy to turn him into a genocidal maniac. Like, I just want to know. I just want to know. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, you know, do whatever makes it happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!